Hey guys, this is a accounting video for lesson 4.2. And in this lesson, we are going to be posting amounts from our journal from the general debit and general credit columns. And I'm going to pull up a slide in a minute and I'll expand on that. So what we're going to do in chapter 4, essentially, is do something called posting. We said that before in chapter 3, you were recording entries in a journal, but that is a part of maintaining an accounting system. But what if you want to look at individual account balances at a quick glance? And so you have to do something called posting, which means you're posting your journal entries onto separate account forms so that you can look at individual account balances. Now, just a quick note, we are doing this. This is good to know. It's part of your fundamentals of accounting and learning, and it's something that you're going to do in any accounting class or just know how to do in a business. In a lot of ways, using accounting software sort of negates the purpose of this, because anytime you make a journal entry in an accounting system, it automatically posts it to his own account. And so you can see and click through, if you use some accounting software, different accounts and have a quick look at the different balances. But you still kind of need to know the purpose of doing it. And the fact that if you are using accounting software, there is something called a general ledger that you can look at for individual account balances. So let's go back to kind of what we were doing. We have two pictures up here. We have one of our journal, which was from chapter 3, really similar, just what you guys had done when you were recording entries in chapter 3. Down here is our account form. And so in lesson 4.1, you learned how to open a new account. This one we open for supplies, and it's really simple. All you do is you just label supplies up at the top. That's the account. And then the account number from the chart of accounts is 150. So let's kind of go through. There's a 5-step process to this to actually do a posting. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to be posting from the general debit column. All right. And then we're going to do next postings from a general credit column as well. These here, sales and cash, we'll look at in lesson 4.3 because there's a little bit of a different process. Actually, it's a simplified process because these things have their own accounts. So if you go back to kind of thinking about the journal and making those general entries, so any account that you used that was not a sale or cash account, you had to use the general columns here and then write the account titles below. So a description of this transaction, just to refer back, would be like paying cash, because we're decreasing cash by $165, paying cash to buy $165 worth of supplies. That would be the basic, transaction that had happened. So we need to post this to its own ledger. And so to do that, you first write the date on the account form. So this piece right here is what you're going to really be working with on the assignments and on the tests, is maintaining all different ones, different ledgers for each account. And so first of all, you write the date. And again, because this account here, this is the first date of January that you're doing. And so you need to write Jan 2, because that was the date we're working from January 2nd. It was supplies. So we're going to go supplies there. So we start with the date, right? January 2nd. Write the journal page number in the posting reference. So this entry came from page 1 of our journal. And so on our ledger, we need to write 1 in the posting reference. If it was from page 2, you would put 2. If it was page 65, you would put a 65. Write the debit amount because, again, we're dealing with a supplies debit here. And again, there's cash here, but it's a different process. So we're going to kind of forget that we're going to see this other piece of this transaction here. We're just looking at the general entries. Anything that went in the general entries, we're going to make a separate posting for. Sales and cash, because they have their own accounts, their own special account columns. You don't need to enter them separately on an account form. You're only going to work with the totals, which is what we'll do in lesson 4.3. So back to this, the debit was for 165. And so we're going to write the debit amount of 165 from supplies into the debit column here. And then write the new account balance over here. And so the first entry is always really easy. It just matches this first entry. So the debit was for 165, which means supplies as of January 2nd has a debit balance of $165 right here. So you write that, carry it over. And then number 5, go back to your journal. And again, we never put anything in the post reference box. Now that's where you fill this in. So step 5 is to look at the account number was 150. So you're going to put the supplies account number in the posting reference. This is a way to cross-reference your entries to just look and say, oh, okay, I want to see what my supplies balance was as of January 2nd. Okay, I know I did record that in the ledger. Account 150, that was my supplies account. I'm going to go in there and you can have a look and say, okay, well, as of January 2nd, I had a debit balance of $165. Okay. So what happens when you post a second amount to the journal? So again, we're going to kind of walk through this step by step. This, as you can see, is in gray. That was that first example that we just did on the previous slide. So now we have a new transaction that happened on January 5th, I'm sorry, supplies, and it was a debit of $220 there. So write the date, and again, since we're still on that ledger that we already made an entry on for January, since we are working still in January on the 5th, we don't need to write the month there, just like you did with the journal. So write the date, 5 for January 5th. Write the journal page number. We're still working on page 1. So we're going to label post reference number 1 there. Write the debit amount because, again, we're still working. There was another debit in supplies right there. So the debit was $220. So on this one, we're going to debit $220. Record that. That's the entry that was made on January 5th. Write the new account balance. So as you'll notice, now we have gone to the previous balance of 165 and we added the next debit on. All right. So now our new balance is $385, and that's what the whole point of doing these postings is. And so as you can see, when you have multiple postings, you can look and say, all right, well, as of January 5th, I had $385 worth of supplies. It's a nice thing to know at a quick glance as a business owner, so you don't have to go through your whole journal and do individual calculations every single time you want to look at a balance of something. Number 5, go back to the journal and again fill in the post reference box on the journal, 150 up there. So account 150, we're still working with supplies, put it up there. Same thing as the debit, but now we're going to work with an amount from the general credit column that was recorded as a credit. So the 5-step process again, write the date. So we're working with we were working with supplies before. Now we have a different ledger here, a different general ledger for Michael Delgado capital account. That was account, if we go back to our chart of accounts, it was account number 310. So that we put that there. But just to record this, to actually make the posting, to post it, January 2nd is what we're working with there. Write the journal page number, page 1. 1 goes on the reference there. Write the credit amount, and that was on January 2nd. There was a credit to the Michael Delgado capital account in the amount of $2,000. So again, you're going back to your journal entries on January 2nd to describe this. You can say that Michael Delgado invested $2,000 of his own money into Delgado Web Services. So we had increased cash by $2,000, and then we also credited the Delgado capital account, thereby increasing that by $2,000. So to make this posting, January 2nd, we're going to just record the credit from there, down there. And then 4, we're going to move to the account balance columns and carry that over. Well, that was a credit of $2,000. Now we're going to record a credit of $2,000 over there. Return to the journal and write the page number or the account number in the posting reference up there. And